Wondering what life is really like on Canada's wild and crazy West Coast? This podcast is all about the people, the places, and Vancouver Island time. Together, we'll explore this island paradise, a combination of ocean, city, and country living. We'll meet the fabulous locals, such as the Fudge Fairy and the Chicken Lady, who have chosen Victoria and Vancouver Island as their home. And we'll learn what makes this place unique and special to those who live here. And now, your host of Vancouver Island Time, Jane Johnston.
Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosa and host of Vancouver Island Time. Today, I'm here with Maggie Calder of Mindful Zone, and we're going to be talking about the area of Broadmead. So, first of all, Broadmead is halfway between downtown Victoria and the airport, and it's home to the Broadmead Shopping Centre. You live just south of that, near the bog. What do you think about this area?
Wow, I was really impressed when I first came here. I just moved here, I'd say about a year ago. And I was trying to find a place that felt like I could easily get into Victoria, but I wasn't in all the hype of Victoria, which I love, but I didn't want to live there. So I just started looking around. And when I found this area, I was like, wow, this is really beautiful. It checks all those boxes off.
Do you spend time outdoors here?
Very much so. The beautiful bog that you had mentioned that they have here is phenomenal. It's about an hour walk, but every turn is a different ambiance, from the big trees to the animals to the marsh area. It's very beautiful. And even walking around here, the trees, and Douglas Park is very close. So that's a lot of fun.
So what about, what do you do for fun here other than walking?
Yeah, well, there's fantastic lakes here as well as the forest area. That's really a lot of fun. So nature is a big piece of it, but I'm a bit of a foodie, so I like to eat.
I'm an eatie.
Yeah, that's a good word. I am an eatie. So Victoria has brought a lot of pleasure to me for their food. Even the farms, getting out to the farms out in the Sydney area by the airport. Fantastic. They're really beautiful.
What are some restaurants that you've gone to?
Oh boy, I like them all. I love the Beloved because it's just got that great little ambiance, and it's a vegan restaurant. It's kind of nice, diverse thing. The tapas bar is a lot of fun. I like going there. Boy, there's so many. Even up here in the Broadmead area, over by the Thrifty Foods, there's 3 restaurants there. I was quite surprised. Now, I've lived all over the world almost, and I was surprised to go into the Japanese restaurant there and actually have some meals that were very close to my meals in Japan. Excellent artisan bistro. That guy really knows how to cook. He's beautiful. And there's a fun little Thai restaurant there. That's kind of nice.
So where else actually have you lived in the world?
Oh boy, Thailand, Cambodia, Bali, Portugal, India, US.
How did you end up in Victoria?
Okay. So my plan was to live somewhere else in BC, and through the rhythm of life and how life works, it brought me to Victoria. Ultimately, my auntie, who's 91, lives here, and my sister, my brother live here, and my sister has a son with children, and so I get to see all those magic, And so I came here just for a visit to see them, and I never really got to know Victoria at all. And so while we were socializing, my sister's like, let me show you around. And she starts driving me around, and there's all these different little pockets, ambiances. Like one side can be very much ocean, very much city, the nature. I'm like, this is a very diverse town, and it has really good food.
Same for me. I came just for a summer camp to teach, and then I ended up staying.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm really happy. The only thing that I have is I kind of wish I moved here earlier. I wish I didn't wait so long to get here.
Was it easy to make friends?
It's who you are as a person. So at the beginning, you're just trying to find your way, and that's just taking time. But the friends that I'm meeting here are really good-hearted. They're real people, I call it. When they say they're going to do something, they do it. When we have conversation, I really feel it's coming from a sincere place. It's not coming from a want or what I felt in other big cities that I lived in. This isn't really quite a big city, but it's a really happening little fun place to be.
There's a lot to do here considering the size.
I would say that. I was just talking to someone about going out further to the Souk area, and I'm a golfer as well, so I'm interested in like Bear Mountain and a few things. And so, they were talking about like out in the Cowichan area is fantastic. There's fishing. I mean, it's abundant. You think of it, you could probably do it here.
Inner tubing down the river.
Of course. Yeah.
What I found here when I moved here is it does have all the amenities. So it has like the fine arts, the art shows, has the entertainment now. Elton John was here, things like that. But it also is not too big.
Exactly. And what I like about it is you can get areas where you feel like you're not in a city, but in 5 minutes you're in the city. You can find little pockets where you can have your picnics, which I've done before. And I had a beautiful picnic at Beacon Hill Park. I love that park. It's gorgeous. And I felt like I was really in a park somewhere. I didn't know I was in the middle of the city.
And they used to have a lot of festivities in that park, but I think because the grass grows, they would let the grass grow so long. It's a bit of a fire hazard, but there are lots of things you can do. You can play rugby or cricket, or you can go to the Beacon Hill Zoo.
Oh, that petting zoo. Yes, I had my 7-year-old niece come with me. Well, actually, she took me. I had a babysitting day with her, which I love, and we went to the Beacon Hill Park, and she said, "Oh, you got to come over here." And we had to wait till 5:00 at night or 5:30 or something. And I'm like, "Why are we waiting so long to go to this petting zoo?" And she said, because it's mostly goats. And if you go there, the goat run, where the goats are going into their little house at night, but you get to sit around and have all these goats run past you. It was a lot of unexpected fun for me.
Yeah, and you can actually just sit there and they'll climb on your back and stuff.
Oh my gosh, it was really entertaining. And the peacocks and it's just a magical place. The gardens, the flowers, and Bushart Gardens. I was over there. Oh, it's breathtaking. I can't even describe how beautiful that is.
Were you at Bushart Gardens during the day or at night?
Daytime. But I heard at nighttime it's very lovely. And they do fireworks sometimes or something.
Yeah, in the summer they'll have a band and fireworks.
Oh, okay. So there's another thing on my list to go to.
And you can go skating there in the winter too.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's even more fun.
Have you managed to get out on the water at all?
I did. My brother has a little boat, and he took me out around, and we went down a small one down the gorge or something. Is that right? And it was just so lovely. You're seeing all these lovely homes around you, and the ocean's right there. It's really great.
So I row on that every morning. It's tidal. It doesn't feel like it's ocean though, right?
No, it doesn't feel like it's ocean. It feels like you're in a really sweet, nice community and a sort of a sweet little lake area. It's quite subtle in there for the ocean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because the water's quite cold, which is the reminder.
Yeah.
Do you happen to go to any entertainment in the city?
I did to the jazz festival this summer, and I was moved deeply. The music was fantastic, and the way they organized all the different venues around town, it was fantastic. So some nights you were in a club and there was dancing and all kinds of stuff. Other nights you were outside and you could see the ocean behind the stage, and wow, it was really beautiful.
How many different bands do they have?
Oh, well, they had, it was, you could do endless because there's so many different pods that you could go to, different styles of jazz. I went also to the blues festival, and that was the same, different styles of music, not necessarily one genre, but they give you that variety. And then locally, oh wow, the musicians locally are phenomenal. Yeah.
Do you ever go to the comedy houses?
No. And now you're triggering that as something on my list to do.
There's a place called Heckler's on the Gorge that you can go to. You might want to check it out.
Okay. I did go to, you know what, another surprise is, because sometimes when you go to pubs, they're sort of more ruffian or whatever. And we have a lot of English style pubs here. So to me, they're quite lovely, and they have very nice food. It's not like a takeout pub food. It's actually real food.
It's not like fried.
Yeah, that's what I really mean. And good beverages, and often music, and some of them even have live bands. It's really great. And you know, one of the things that I really like that's here is they have open mic nights at the different venues like the Fernwood Inn and things like that. And the open mic night is amazing because local musicians will come for free, and they get to share their art and craft. And it's a very tight community feeling at that point.
So what would you recommend for somebody coming to Victoria to, first of all, choose where they want to live, and second of all, to integrate themselves into the community?
Wow, those are two big questions. Well, one, for me, I'm renting right now. I don't own this house. So I do have a house that is for sale. So what I'm doing in my renting is really getting to know the city, feeling around the different communities, because they're all fantastic. They've just got different styles. So you get to learn your style, like, oh, that's more my style. Like I'm finding out, like Cook Street Village is a little bit more my style.
Everyone says that.
Oh, do they? It's so beautiful there. It's right by the ocean. It's right by the park. You know, the food is really good. So, but, you know, I love it here. I mean, this area is so peaceful, and the trees are phenomenal. Easy in and out of like you can easily get to the airport or the ferry from here, and just as easy to get downtown. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I find, well, when people come to Victoria, the first thing they do is they go to Fairfield and they go, I love this area. I want to live here. And then they slowly move east. Usually it's east up through this area, which is central or Saanich East.
Yeah, I love this area. And not only that, is you get to see all the mountains, and, you know, you're not in the crust of it. So you get a lovely views, and yeah, it's really, really nice. And the homes are beautiful, and people respect their homes here. I like that.
One of the things I found here is because it's so hilly, especially when I go back to my old hometown of Toronto and see how flat it is you really can get the long view from many places.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I really like about this area is every home has got its own unique look or style. You know, it's not like when I lived in America, many of the homes, the whole block looked exactly the same except for the color of the house. You know, so the house was where here they're all diverse, like they've got their own expression. And it really creates for a diverse community and a really nice feeling.
You might want to talk to some of the planners on the West Shore about that. Which is where I live. I have to drive through some development areas to get to, I live in Metchosin, but I do find that it is more cookie cutter-ish kind of bedroom community, people commuting to downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's actually not further away from downtown than here.
Isn't that interesting?
A lot of people from this area are moving out to the West Shore because this area is kind of undergoing a renewal. The houses are around 40 years old and they're starting to show their age. And so younger families are moving in and fixing them up.
Yeah, I see that happening. Yeah, like our neighbor next door, a younger family just bought their house, and I can feel they're going to prepare for the spring to start doing some upgrade. Yeah.
So, top two things you love about Victoria?
Oh, wow. Um, well, of course, the nature, number one, and truly the people. The people to me, they're just. I mean, a lot of people are from all over, and so they appreciate that in each other. I really like that.
And that's a new thing in the last 20 years.
I didn't know that.
Okay, well, we'll be back. We're going to talk to Maggie about her business, which is Mindful Zone. So stay tuned, and we'll be back at you in a minute.
Vancouver Island Time is brought to you by the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, Victoria, where we bring local expertise and global presence to your property.
Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with Maggie Calder of Mindful Zone. So tell me first, what does that mean?
Okay. Well, Mindful Zone is basically what it says. It's mindfulness. And when you're in mindfulness, you're in the zone. What is the zone? It's when we're feeling grounded and centered and clear. We're kind of on our game. So in the mindful zone is being on your game. And so how I do that is I work with the brain. So I do light therapy. And I also do mindful programs. So talks and workshops on tools and techniques of how to bring mindfulness into our personal life, but also in what we deal with in the outer world, in business and in our community.
Well, I like coming from the background of an athlete. I'm thinking when I look at performance and anxiety, and there's a curve there, and then you have your optimal level of energy and focus and performance. To me, that's being in the zone.
Yeah, that is in the zone. And so taking it a tad bit deeper is to now be in the zone and be aware of how you are and who you are in that zone. So when you're in that place and you feel it again, you know you're in the zone, and you can actually give a little bit more at that point, because that's when you have your full energy.
How do you measure somebody's energy?
Well, it's a combination of several things. One is how they think, and then how do they talk to themselves? So there's kind of layering to this. There's information of what we feed to ourselves. There's patterning and conditioning that we live under. And there's parts of ourselves that has a desire for change. So what is that change looking for? So when you're really clear on that change within yourself or on the outer world, then a natural pattern unfolds where what I'm going to call the mindfulness, being in the here and now, you get to recognize it deeper, and that's where you make your change, is from that place, not in the future or worrying about the past. You make it in the here and now.
I find I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. I used to run a women's business networking group, and I just find some people feel like they're kind of feeling their way through, and what I'm seeing is they change, I think, before the miracle starts to happen for them.
That's a very common thing, because in my experience, when you're moving into a mindful zone, your own personal zone, just before you get there, it's kind of like we're getting a human test, you know? There's a test that comes to us like, are you really committed to that, what you're saying you're committed to? Or is it just like a hope, a dream, a want, you know? It's not really a desire from the heart, you know? So when that happens, often at that pressure point, just before it takes its shift into its success, people will give up or change it, or they'll make a really big path change. You know, it's like, whoa, why are you going over there? Stay where you are, stay on course. So often when we stay on course, even relationship, we want to change or build a relationship, and it starts to get challenging because we're challenging it mindfully or something. in the moment and it gets challenging, we can pull back and go, oh, I don't want to upset the person, or I don't want to upset the situation. But that's not how it can become transformed into its glory, into its beauty, because as we, even if you're in a relationship, a short-term or a long-term, it naturally changes.
So I read a book called The Dance of Anger, and a long time ago. And what it says is when somebody's changing, often the people around you will try and push back to put you back into your mold that you were in before. And that even though you may be ready for change, your family or your coworkers may be pushing back. How do you overcome that?
Oh, wow. That's a very good question. To me, it's quite simple. You take ownership for it. So say you feel inside yourself, wow, I really need to make this change. And you've sat enough with it and you make a plan what that change is. Often what people will do is go into the change. That's can create complication in a relationship or family, even business. What you need to do is back up, get your whole plan in place, and then claim it. Okay, so then you say to your family, hey, listen, I'm going through some big changes right now, and I really want to implement them and try them out. So you're going to see me change, and I want to change. So we're going to have a different interaction or relationship here.
Do you find that leads to separation or growth?
Both, actually. What it'll do is transform the whole family. So, for example, years ago, my mother was a very strong Scottish-Irish personality. But 4'11", 90 pounds. So she could get away with a lot because she looked so tiny, right? And I started to learn this mindful teaching many years ago, about 25 years ago. And I decided to live it. But I didn't claim to the family that I was making this change. I went from a very strong A-type personality to a mindful, focused personality. And my family didn't know what was wrong with me. In fact, my mom at one time goes, are you on drugs or anything? Which I wasn't.
You were too serene.
Yeah, and they were just like, what's wrong with you? And then after a while, I decided to, so then they wanted me to shift back, exactly like you're saying, to who I was. Oh, I know you better this way, da, da, da. But that's not really who I am anymore. I might have been that way as a kid, but I'm not that way anymore. And so what had happened was over a couple of years, it took 2 years, and they started to see me change and stay that way. I didn't go back. And then my mom went, oh, I want to have what you've got. Can you tell me?
Yeah, it's a consistency of behavior over time. That's when you know the change has happened.
Yeah, and it can be very powerful because it starts emanating out into your world. It starts changing your work environment. It starts changing your family. Beautiful things can happen.
That's interesting because I found in 2014 I went to a seminar in September, and I said. It was an all-day thing, and I was the last person. It was a mastermind group, and I was the last person, and they came to me and they said, so Jane, and I'm like, I've been listening all day, and I realize I'm in the wrong place. Like where I was working was in the wrong place for my business, and I made the change. I created the plan, and it took me 4 months.
Wow, that's really good. It depends on how deep the patterning is within you. So patterning and condition come from your family background, from your childhood, school, even the television world, you can get patterns from there that you develop. And so if the patterns are old patterns, they do take a little bit longer to change, but you have to just stick with it. In my work, I have seen it over and over again, not only with myself, but with my clients, of when they stay with it, it changes and it doesn't go back. Once you get in that rhythm of going, that changes the neural pathways in the brain. It changes the information of what you feed yourself. So that language inside the head changes. And then your behavior becomes, it's your natural self now. It's not the pattern anymore. It's who you are.
For me, I guess one important thing was to always live with integrity. And in my teens, I decided, it was my late teens, maybe early 20s, and I just decided, okay, you know what? I'm just always going to have integrity because I don't want to lie. I don't want to have untruths. I just want to be true to myself and other people. And that one decision totally affected my whole life.
Exactly. And it'll affect it over and over again. Like that's what you'll be known as, somebody who sticks to your word or somebody who says the truth. It's a difficult thing sometimes in this world. I lived in Chicago for a while and I worked with a group for a really long time because the conditioning was to lie because it kept you safe. So you could create that mystery around you. Nobody could really pinpoint you. And what had happened was over time, particularly 2 or 3 people in the group, they started to get physically ill because it wasn't their nature to be that kind of way. And so they realized to get the wellness back, they had to change that pattern. And it was really difficult because they were in an environment that had this shifting of truth, and they decided to stick to the truth so they could have their wellness back.
Well, once you lose your wellness, you don't have anything.
It's a powerful thing.
So who's your ideal client?
Anyone who I've worked with people. I've done at least 10,000 hours in light therapy with the brain. So I've worked with writers. I've worked with depression. I've worked with I've worked with the Army Hospital. I've worked with the cancer societies in Amsterdam and Chicago and in Vancouver. And it's anyone who has a desire to have a really deep, good connection in the brain, like brain wellness. And anyone who has a desire to live in a mindful. What is mindful? Mindful is in the here and now. Mindful is living your truth. And mindful is accepting life without judgment. Not that you accept it and you go, oh, I'll just put up with it. That's a whole different ball game. It's accepting it as it is, but knowing it through mindfully where you can make adjustments to it.
And so do you have to surround yourself with people who are also mindful?
I prefer to be with people who are mindful because it becomes a flow and ease and joy. When you're mindful, joy is far more present than frustration or depression or anxiety.
Do you think luck is too?
Well, it's kind of like that magnet thing, like when you're mindful and your natural joy comes up, you become like the magnet that people want to be around. People want to be part of it. So, yeah, if you want to use the word luck, yeah, it does do that. But it's just that you're moving more into a natural joy. People feel real, like you're real.
Yeah, I'd like I find when people say to somebody else, oh, you're lucky, I always think that wasn't luck. That was hard work and perseverance and focus and recognizing opportunities and moving in, like when they get to a place where they have to make a decision, making the decision that's going to move them forward.
That's true. I mean, it is hard work. I came from the way I live now. My life is great. I love my life. I love the people in it. I love my choices. Every day I wake up happy. I very rarely find moments where that is not present. And people are like, oh, you're so, like, they'll say that to me. Oh, you're so lucky. It's like, no, I had hard work. Now, as much as I come from a very beautiful, loving family, they also were tough Scottish Irish people. I was born in Scotland. They rode motorcycles. They were hardy, the old 1970s toughies, So I came from what today would be a very challenging background and a very tough background. So to move into that softness did take work and energy.
And a lot of people perceive it as weakness. Which is the opposite.
Yeah, they perceive it as weakness because it doesn't need to take. It doesn't need to have. When you're mindful, being in the moment is enough. So other mindful places are usually fear and desire. Is usually what happens. Is people will move into some kind of I want, or I have to do this because I'm afraid or something. Where when you move into mindful, it's in the moment, and it is what it is here now, and I deal with it now.
Okay, so we're coming to the end. I know we have a lot to discuss, but how do people get in touch with you?
They can contact me. I have a home office here in the Broadmead area. So they can contact me at www.mindfulzone.ca, and that's one L in the mindful. And my number is 250-888-5814.
Okay, so if you want more information from Maggie, contact her. If you want more information about the Broadmead area, contact me. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. Have a great day.
Welcome to the neighborhood. We hope you have had some insight into West Coast living. If you know of someone or someplace that should be highlighted in our podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Please go to VancouverIslandTime.com and click on our Connect button. See you next week on Vancouver Island Time with Jane Johnston.